Well, the reaction from EU leaders is just starting to come in this morning. Council President Charles Michel just posted on Twitter that Giscard was a modernizer of France, which made France fully play a leading role in Europe and made the dream of a more integrated Europe a reality. He created the European Council, which laid the foundations of monetary union and therefore the euro. It is true that his time as president saw a major transformation of the trajectory of the European Union, as well at the same time as he was changing the trajectory of France. He is well regarded here in Brussels, to say the least, because he was so passionately pro-European throughout his career. After he left office, he served as a member of the European Parliament here from 1989 to 1993, but he is perhaps best known here for his role as president of the Convention on the Future of the European Union. That was the constitutional convention that ran in the early 2000s to devise the European Constitution. Now, that famously went on to be rejected by French voters in 2005, despite Giscard campaigning for it so passionately. His countrymen rejected the constitution. It was retooled into the Lisbon Treaty, which is the legal framework that the EU is still operating under today. So this legacy is quite poignant at the moment, actually, because there's a new convention happening now. It's called the Conference on the Future of Europe. This was current President, French President Macron's idea. It's his baby, but they don't dare call it a constitutional convention because of that experience in 2005. They don't want to use any of those types of words. But I think what we're going to see today is some EU leaders saying, look, Giscard was bold. He didn't mind calling it a constitution or a convention. We need bolder leaders today who more passionately embrace the European project.
And you alluded to it a little just then. His presidency also revealed some of the rather contradictory feelings that French people, France, have towards the EU.
Yeah, I think a lot of people outside France think of, particularly in the UK, think of France as being a very pro-EU country. But in the 1970s, that was not the case. Charles de Gaulle was really, really skeptical of the European project. And he really believed that an independent France could be independently a world power. France fought wars to try to prove this point, I think. And a lot of the things that de Gaulle said at the time would be recognizable today coming from the mouths of Brexiteers in the UK. After that Gaullist period, you had this new era when Giscard came in. I mean, he was really undoing 15 years of policy by the previous Gaullist government, and lots of that was domestic, but it was also European. And France fully embracing the European idea meant that the EU was set on a totally new trajectory. It was set on the trajectory which eventually transformed the European community into the European Union. And I think it's quite reasonable to argue that without him, that couldn't have happened. And I think we're going to hear a lot of that today. Now, of course, he was opposed in France. There were bitter debates in France at the time about how much power should be moved from Paris to Brussels. Jacques Chirac was a fierce opponent of this idea and a fierce opponent of Giscard, but I think it's a reflection of just how much Giscard won the day that by the time Jacques Chirac became president himself, a few decades later, he had to majorly soften his anti-EU stances. When he was president, he wasn't a particularly rabid anti-EU president. Whatever his personal opinions may have been, he realized that that type of stance wasn't palatable to the majority of the French public anymore. So, Giscard really transformed France's relationship with Europe, and in so doing, he transformed what the European Union is.
Dave Keating in Brussels, thank you very much.